So here's what was brought up on First Take regarding the Washington Wizards' direction and the ripple effects it might have across the league. Right now, Washington is clearly in full rebuild mode. They've already moved on from several veteran players this offseason. We're talking 3, maybe even 4 buyouts already. And according to recent reports, they're not done yet. According to what was said on the show, there's strong indication that both Chris Middleton and McCollum are not expected to be part of Washington's long-term plan. And considering how the Wizards have handled previous cases, like Marcus Smart and Richaun Holmes, who were bought out after similar rumors surfaced, it wouldn't be a surprise if Middleton and McCollum are next. Now, the discussion naturally shifted toward potential fits, and the Lakers came up. If either Middleton or McCollum ends up on the buyout market and they're open to joining LA, that could be huge. Between the two, Middleton might be the more intriguing option, but that doesn't come without concerns. The issue with Middleton has always been durability. Health has really plagued his recent seasons, and some have questioned whether he's already begun his decline. He averaged 12 points, 4 boards, and 4 assists on 48% shooting last season. Efficient, sure, but far from his all-star peak. At 33, going on 34, you do have to wonder what's left in the tank. But let's be real. In today's league, 34 isn't what it used to be. Look around. A lot of the top contributors are in that mid-30s range. Steph, KD, LeBron, they're still at the top. So it comes down to whether a guy like Middleton can still help win games in a limited, controlled role. If the Lakers could bring him in as a bench contributor, someone who can give them 15-20 solid minutes, provide spacing, and make smart decisions, that could be a big value add. Imagine a second unit featuring Middleton, Marcus Smart, and maybe a guy like Jared Vanderbilt or Jake LaRavia. You start to build depth with real experience and versatility. And if they could somehow upgrade the center spot, maybe swing a deal for someone like Nikola Vucevic, suddenly you're looking at a much deeper rotation. Now, yes, the ideal scenario for the Lakers would be adding youth, speed, and athleticism. But as mentioned on First Take, those kinds of players aren't exactly flooding the market right now. So if the buyout route presents more experienced plug-and-play veterans, it might be the smarter path for a team trying to maximize the window with LeBron and AD. The panel also pointed out that if a couple key buyouts become official, LA might be more willing to make a bigger swing, like trading for Andrew Wiggins. In that case, it's not just about Wiggins anymore. It becomes a package mindset. Wiggins, Middleton, and a guy like Vucevic? Now, that changes the ceiling. That kind of depth could seriously elevate the Lakers' playoff outlook. This is why patience was emphasized. The suggestion was that the Lakers should let the buyout wave play out, especially with training camp still 2 months away. Once we're closer to camp, buyouts slow down and trades pick up. That's when teams start making real decisions on who fits and who doesn't. For example, if Portland decides they're going all in on their younger core, that might mean letting go of guys like Middleton or even Robert Williams. Same goes for Miami. If they pull off a deal for DeMar DeRozan or shift direction entirely, they might be more open to something like a Wiggins trade, potentially meeting LA halfway on value. And all of this also ties into players like Jerami Grant or Vucevic, who've been floating in rumors. Earlier reports said Vucevic might not be bought out until the season's end, but now there's talk he could be let go during the offseason to give him a chance to sign with a contender before cap restrictions lock teams out. Remember, if a team is above the second apron, they can't add a buyout player mid-season, but they can now. So this is the time. And back to Washington. The bigger picture there is they're trying to turn the page. They're clearing the deck of veterans, moving toward a full rebuild centered around youth and development. If you're trying to foster a young core, there's no point keeping guys like Middleton or McCollum, who are still valuable pieces but don't fit the long-term arc. As First Take continued, the panel dove further into the implications of Washington holding on to veterans like Chris Middleton. The point was made clearly. When you're trying to develop young talent, guys like Middleton end up being roadblocks. If the goal is to give real minutes to emerging players and build long-term, Middleton's presence complicates that. And you can't just stash a player of his stature on the bench without consequences. He's not going to be happy with a reduced role, and eventually, that becomes a distraction. That's why the suggestion was to simply move on from him now. Get ahead of the problem before it turns into one. He's on an expiring deal, so it's not like the team would lose long-term value. Plus, with his contract being as large as it is and his injury history factored in, trading him would be nearly impossible. Buying him out offers a cleaner solution. It avoids friction and shows that Washington is willing to work with veterans instead of burying them in a rebuild. The same logic applies to McCollum. He's also on an expiring deal, and there's no long-term reason to keep him if the team isn't planning to compete. Buy him out, let him choose his next destination, and everyone walks away on better terms. It saves a little money and avoids the headache of trying to keep veteran scorers engaged on a team that's focused on youth. Now, back to the Lakers. The idea of bringing in someone like Middleton becomes more intriguing the more you think about it. Even though injuries are a concern, if he can stay healthy, he brings legitimate two-way value. He's not just a shooter or a defender, he does both, and he does them at a high level when he's on the court. If used correctly, he could even slide into the starting lineup and fill a vital wing role that this team desperately needs. The injuries are what hold things back. That's the main risk. But if he could string together a healthy run, you're talking about a player who brings size, defense, leadership, and playoff experience. That's exactly the type of piece that could elevate this Lakers team, even if only in spurts. On the other hand, McCollum is a little older. He'll turn 34 in September, but he still has something left in the tank. What makes McCollum interesting is his consistency. For over a decade, he's hovered around averages like 21 to 25 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists per game. He's not just a volume scorer, he brings legitimate efficiency and professionalism to a bench unit. If the Lakers were able to bring him in on a veteran minimum deal, that could be a sneaky good pickup. You're talking about a guy who's capable of leading a second unit, hitting big shots, and spreading the floor in lineups with LeBron or AD resting. Last season, McCollum averaged 1 points, 4 boards, and 4 assists while shooting 44.4% from the field and 37.3% from 3. And that's on real volume. He attempted 8.2 threes per game and still managed to hit them at a high clip. That's not a fluke either. In recent seasons, he's hovered around 39 to 43% from deep on 7 to 8 attempts per night. His career average, 39.7% from 3 on over 6 attempts per game. That's elite shooting consistency, especially when you factor in how much attention he draws from opposing defenses. And again, you're not asking him to carry the offense. He wouldn't be a first or even second option. He'd be a guy who comes in, plays a role, hits shots, and provides spacing and ball handling in bench units. That's valuable. But if you compare McCollum to Middleton, and both are available, Middleton probably offers more of what the Lakers truly need. Someone who can defend bigger wings, switch on the perimeter, and give them a more balanced look on both ends of the floor. The real concern with Middleton, and it's a valid one, is durability. Last season, he played just 37 games total, 23 with Milwaukee, 14 with Washington. That's a red flag. He hasn't played over 60 games since the 2021-22 season. Since then, it's been 33 games one year, 55 the next, and 37 this past season. That's a troubling trend. The talent is there. That's not the issue. It's his ability to stay on the court that gives teams pause. But when he is available, he offers rare versatility. He's about 6'7", can guard 2s and 3s, and even slide to the 4 in small ball lineups. He gives you lineup flexibility that's hard to find. Imagine a Lakers 5 with Luka Doncic, Middleton, Wiggins, LeBron, and someone like DeAndre Ayton. That's length, spacing, and switchability all over the floor. And Middleton is the kind of player who fits into that group naturally. Even his shooting, which dipped in Washington, still shows promise. He shot just 7% from 3 in his short time with the Wizards, but before that, he was hitting 41% from deep with the Bucks. His career average sits at 38.7% on nearly 5 attempts per game. That's more than respectable. The year before last, he was at 38% on 4.5 attempts. The shot is there. It's about rhythm, health, and the right role. Middleton doesn't need to be a primary scorer anymore. He just needs to be a steady contributor, someone who can defend, stretch the floor, and make the right play. That's why teams are watching closely. And if Washington decides to move on, and First Take seemed to suggest that's likely, the Lakers and other contenders should absolutely be interested. The reality is that things change dramatically when you're no longer playing in Milwaukee alongside a superstar like Giannis, who constantly draws double teams and shifts the defense's focus. That dynamic allowed someone like Middleton to thrive. Now, if he were to land somewhere like Washington, his situation would look very different. But a team like the Lakers, that's where he could truly benefit. With playmakers like LeBron James and Luka Doncic, assuming a hypothetical situation where both are there, plus someone like Austin Reeves who can also facilitate, Middleton would consistently get cleaner looks. It's the same logic that could apply to McCollum. Both of these players have the ability to create off the dribble, rebound, and impact the game in various ways. Middleton might not be the elite defender he once was, but he's still solid, and in a secondary or bench role, he could be incredibly valuable. He's not the kind of guy you necessarily want as your starting wing anymore, but as a veteran presence coming off the bench, that could make a real difference. Whether it's sliding into a sixth-man role or bolstering the second unit, Middleton could still make an impact. And realistically, to bring someone like him in, the Lakers would need to make moves, trading players like Gabe Vincent or Rui Hachimura, or maybe even a young asset like Dalton Connect. That's how you clear enough salary and open roster spots. Say you pull off a deal to bring in Andrew Wiggins, he could instantly fit into the rotation. Or maybe you go a different direction and acquire players like Matisse Thybulle and Robert Williams. Each path has its own ripple effects, but the end goal is the same: free up room to add high-level role players. Imagine a lineup featuring Marcus Smart, Chris Middleton, Matisse Thybulle, Jared Vanderbilt, Jake LaRavia, and Robert Williams. That's a defensive-minded, gritty group with flexibility. If instead you went the Wiggins route, maybe you pair him with a big like Nikola Vucevic, swapping Williams for a more offensively gifted center while maintaining balance. If there's a realistic shot to bring both Middleton and someone like Wiggins into the fold, it's a no-brainer. That combination of skill, experience, and versatility could be a game changer.